Hello fam, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll share the process of sewing this dress. And if you're interested in sewing videos such as this, click on the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of such videos that will come up next, and let's begin. For this dress, I made use of 3 yards of satin. If you're on a bigger side, you can make use of 4 or 5 yards of fabric. I made use of bracups, lining, air stay, and some boning. So from the previous pattern we drafted, I went on and cut out my lining and fabric, and I didn't give allowance to this because the pattern already contains allowance. The only part I gave allowance to was the bottom of the pattern because that is where I would attach to the skirt. Because I'm using a very light satin, I placed my fabric on the glue part of the air stay, and I'm using this iron to press it down. The iron helps to glue the fabric to the air stay. This would give the fabric more stability. And once the fabric is glued to the air stay, I'll cut it out. After fusing the air stay and the fabric, this is what I have. So right now I'm going to join these two parts together like this, and I'm going to pin this down. I'm also going to do same for the lining. So I've stitched this and I've pressed it down. Now is the time to attach our drape cups. I have a detailed tutorial on how I draped these cups, so you may want to check it out. I'll be leaving the link in the description box. Now we'll go down by 1/2 inch and we're going to place our draped cup at that mark and begin pinning the cup all around the curve. Now we're done pinning, I'll run a stitch around this. After sewing both cups, I take out my pins, and this is what we have. And I'll take my lining and pin the mid parts right sides facing each other to the mid part of the fabric like this. And I'll stitch it down. So let me just show you how I lined this. After sewing the mid part, you're going to take the lining to the back. Just watch what I'm doing carefully. Bend it to the back and align it to the rough edge of the base of your cup like this. And now just align the curve and sew all the way down. I'll be pinning this down. Just watch what I'm doing. I'll pin this around, and after I'm done, I will sew it down. I've sewn this part down already, and you can see how neat it is. So right now I'm going to sew this as well, and after sewing I'm going to sew this other part too to give this a clean finish and seal it up. So for the back piece, we're going to be closing up our darts, so I'll just pin this down, take it to the sewing machine and run a straight stitch down. As you can see, I've closed up the dots and I've pressed the inside seams down. I also did same for the lining, and now I'll be lining the back piece. So I'll just place the lining on the fabric and pin it down. I'm going to be running a stitch around these 3 areas, excluding the base. Now that I've sewn all 3 parts together, I'll snip the points so the edges come out better, and I'll turn it inside out. As you can see, I've ironed the front and back pieces backstage, and you can see how neat this is looking. For the back piece, I have defined my zipper allowance by pressing that down, and I'll trim out the excess lining at the base. And now is the time for boning. This is the boning I'll be using, and this boning is 0.5 inches wide. As it is, we're going to be creating channels for our boning, so I'm going to determine the middle of this part, and the middle is 3.5, and I'm going to mark a line there. I'm also going to mark the middle of this part, and the middle there is 1, so I'm going to mark a line there. And now we're going to come out from the imaginary line by 0.25 inches on both sides so as to create a 0.5 inch channel. Now connect all points in parallel lines. Just the way we created a half-inch channel the first time, we're going to take 0.25 inches on both sides of the dot lines to create half-inch channels. And I'll do same on both of the dot lines. I would also create boning channels for my side front, so I would go out from the dot lines by 2 inches and I'll connect that part to the top where the cup ends, and I'll create our half-inch channels. On the back piece, we are going to also create half-inch channels on the dot lines. At the bottom, I'll come out by 3 inches from the dot line, and at the top, I'll come out by 4 inches from the dot line. I did this because I want the boning channel at the back to be straight. Now I would go to the sewing machine and run straight stitches on all these parallel lines. As you can see, I've run straight stitches along the lines we marked on both the front and the back. And now is the time to insert our boning. Because this edge is too sharp, I'm going to be using a lighter and a scissors to smoothen the edge of the boning. Now you're going to insert your boning in your channels, that is in between the lining and the fabric, and the boning should curve inwards as you do so. Once the boning has gotten to the top, drag it out by about 1 inch and cut it. That is because you're going to be joining the skirt part and you wouldn't want to have interference. Now I'll smoothen the bottom edges with my scissors and lighter. Now I'm going to insert all my boning. I'm going to insert it here. I'm also going to insert it at the back, and I would insert it here, 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 and here. As you can see, I've successfully inserted all my boning into my boning channels. I've put it here and you can see how it looks like. It has structure as it is. For the skirt, I've cut out lining exactly as the fabric, and I will just notch this part here, which would be for our dots. So let me just show you what I did at the base. At the base, the lining is not equal length as the fabric. It's shorter with about 1 inch, and I did this because I want the fabric to come in on the lining when we finish sewing it. Now I'll drag the lining to the base of the fabric and I'll pin everything down because I'm going to be sewing this down. As you can see, I've stitched the base and I've also closed up our darts. Now I'm going to pin the top and stitch it down. So I've stitched it here and I'm going to run a stitch on both sides down. So while running a stitch down, I left a space here. This is what I'll be using to turn the fabric inside out. So after turning the front and back pieces inside out, I gave it a good press and I defined the zipper area. For the halter, I folded it in two and ran a stitch down. Then I turned it inside out and gave it a good press. I went backstage to finish the raw edges of the tube top of both the front and back pieces with the bias tape. And I'm going to attach the bodice to the skirt. First, I'll determine the middle of the skirt and I'll also determine the middle of the bodice. And once I do that, I'm going to place right sides facing each other and I'm going to sew that down. Now for the back piece, starting from the zipper allowance, I'm going to align the bodice to the skirt and I'm just going to pin that down and run a straight stitch. So after attaching both pieces together, this is how the front looks like. And this is how the back looks like. So right now I'm going to determine where I want my zip to stop at, and I want my zip to stop at about 9 inches from my waist, and I'm going to sew from that point 9 inches I marked down to the base of the dress, just like this, and then I'll attach my zipper. Right now I've attached the zipper. And I'll attach the front and back pieces together after taking my body measurements and shape up the dress. To determine how the halter fits around your neck, just place a tape around your neck like this. And I just brought it somewhere around the armpit. I measured mine and mine was 24 inches. As you can see, the total length of my halter is 27 inches. And I'm going to mark 1.5 inches on both ends of the halter, and that will be where I would attach the halter to the tube top. For this part, if you don't have a mannequin, do not worry. You can drape this on yourself. I only used the mannequin because I want to give a clearer illustration. From the part we marked 1.5 inches on the halter, just attach this to the area just under the armpit and pin it down, and we're done pinning the halter to the dress. Remember our flounce from the previous tutorial? Yes, we're going to drape this on the dress and I've already serged the edges so the fabric doesn't fray. Now double the flounce to get the middle and then place the flounce on any part of the dress you want the flounce to be. At this stage, just use your creativity. For me, I want the flounce to go around the dart lines of the front and the back. I just placed the flounce downwards vertically along the dart lines and pinned everything on the fabric. So just use your discretion, and after this we're done with the dress. And if you're yet to subscribe to the channel, please hit on the subscribe button so you can be notified when next I post new sewing tutorials, and give the video a thumbs up if you're yet to do so. Until I see you in the next video, bye.